Hey there, guys and gals, ladies and gentlemen, damas y caballeros, bienvenidos. Welcome to the first lesson of our unit 0, which is, of course, our review unit for middle school A. In this video, we're going to go back probably to something that is a review. I've got some weird things happening. There we go. Should be fixed. Yes, beautiful. Great. Great, grand, and glorious. Now, so we're going to be going back a few steps. We're going back to something that is almost certainly review for everybody, but again, that's where we are in this review lesson. And if by some chance this is not review, then this will also help you get to a more caught up state. So in this video, we're going to just kind of jump in with examples and get them done. We don't have any kind of lessons at first. We will sometimes. A lot of the time we're doing more mechanics stuff. The easiest way to learn it is by simply doing examples. And that's exactly what we're going to do in this video. So let's start with example number 1. So multi-digit addition. So we're going to start with just a 2-digit number plus a 1-digit number. So let's say 56 plus 5. Okay? So what do we do with this? Well, we make first things first is you want to make sure that you're doing your work on lined paper, right? You don't want to use a big blank space like what I have on here. I need to make me for this class. I just now thought of it. If I don't do it in the next video or two, remind me, and I need to add some lines. Now, another useful trick is if you have trouble with handwriting and you're having trouble at this point with keeping things neat, one thing, normally the lines on paper run this way, right? That's normal. Right, so if you're having trouble with problems with doing, arithmetic problems, adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, if you're having trouble keeping it neat, one trick that can be useful is if you take your paper and turn it on its side. So where you make the lines, instead of going this way, you make them going this way. This can be a trick if you're struggling with keeping stuff and your addition kind of has numbers that are just kind of squiggling all over the page and all of those things. If you turn it up on its side, then, like for example on this particular problem, let me grab a bigger eraser and erase some of this stuff. I probably could have done this a little quicker, but there we go. So, like, for example, on this particular problem, you could set it up, and if you turned your paper sideways and had those lines going up and down, then you can keep it nice and neat, and you put 56 plus 5. So, see, now we very easily, kind of did something strange there. We very easily keep these lined up this way. So, if that's something that you're struggling with at this point, that may help you. So, just not that button, this button. That's just a tip to help with your neatness. That's one of the big things that we want to work on in middle school in class is we want to work towards moving towards more and more neat handwriting and problems, because the further we get into this, the more, and especially if you go to algebra and all these things later, if you keep things neat and you learn to do it now, it's going to make your life so much easier. So back to this example. So again, probably this is review, but hopefully this is review, but just in case. What do? Well, we work it in a line. So we add 6 plus 5. What is 6 plus 5? 6 plus 5 is 11, right? Don't write that down over on the side. That's okay, but it's 11. So we've moved from our units place to into the tens place. So what do we do with that one right there? Well, this is what we do, okay? What we do, I'm going to change colors here for these intermediate things. If you're one of my students in this class, I expect you to do the same, okay? You probably want to have a primary color that's probably your pencil, and then at least one secondary color. If you want more colors, that's really great. But that for 6 plus 5, we get 11. So we're going to put a 1 up here, and then our other 1. So see, that's our full 11. 6 plus 5 is 11. The one, we carry the 1, right? So now we have 1 plus 5. 1 plus 5 is easy peasy, right? That gives us 6 as the answer. And there is our answer. Now, remember, if you're in my class, we can either, and both are fine. I tend to switch back and forth. We we can either box our answer or circle our answer. Do one, whichever one works out the neatest for you. Okay, so let's do another example here. Let's do two-digit numbers. So how about 28 plus 35? That looks good. So we do the same thing. So we're going to add in the units place first. So 8 plus 5 is 13, right? So we carry that 1 up here. We're using our different color. And we put a 3 down here. Easy peasy lemon squeezy, right? Now, what we have is we have 3 different things to add. So we add 1 plus 2 plus 3. When you're doing these, if you can't do all of that little stack right there in your head, what I would recommend is in your scratch paper. Now, remember, if you were in my class, the other day, we talked about this. You may be seeing this years from now, but as of the recording of this video, you have your paper. It's got the holes over here. It's got this kind of margin section on the side, and then another kind of margin section that's really a bleed through from the other thing, and then we've got our lines, right? There are 2 options for where your scratch paper can live. I won't draw all those. It won't take all our time, but that continues on the page, right? You know what paper looks like. So what I suggest is one of 2 things. Now, if you write real big still, then I would put your problems here. So like problem 1, and then problem 2, and then problem, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then what you can do is you can keep all your main work in this main page, and then you can do scratch paper on the sides. Now, this is really important, and what I talk about in my classes, and what I'm making sure to say in this video, both for my current students and my future students, and those of you that are hopefully getting use out of this who are not my students at present, at least not in person, I'm including this here because we're giving tips and all these things. This is middle school math, right? So do your scratch paper. So like where I got to scratch paper was doing 1 plus 2 plus 3, which of course is 6. But if the numbers are bigger, so let's say we did 9 plus 8 plus 7, what you can do is you can use these areas on the side for your scratch paper. Now, if you're writing kind of big, you can use a second paper, 2 papers, and you use another paper for your scratch paper. Now, this is really important, the next bit that I haven't said yet, and that is don't erase your scratch work, right? So if you have scratch work, so like if you had to go over here and do 1 plus 2 is 3, and then you added the 3. So if you needed to do that over in the margin over there and did this scratch work and ended up with 6, that's great. Scratch paper is your friend. Scratch paper is really, really great. At this point, we're not using calculators, so scratch paper is kind of your brain, your kind of mental space, right? So it's really important that we do that, and you don't want to erase it, especially once we get to doing some like division problems and like multi-digit division in a few videos and all these things. Then you don't want to have done all this work of 15 times 5 or whatever else and then need that later and then have erased it. So don't ever erase your scratch work. And so you can keep it either in the margins or you can keep that scratch work on a separate piece of paper, which maybe for a lot of you is probably going to be your best bet as having a separate page for your scratch work. And especially then, we don't want to erase our scratch work. Now, sometimes I will keep all for the problem I'm working on right now. I may hide stuff or whatever because I like to make sure and keep stuff on the screen, but don't erase your scratch work. I know I'm hitting a lot of kind of basics and whatever else, but these are really important things that not everybody knows at this point, and so I want to make sure we get these things foundational. So we already figured this out. The answer here is, this probably should have been our primary color, is 6. So our answer to this problem is 63. Done and done. Let's do another example. I think 3 examples is going to be enough for this one. Let me know in the comments if you want to see more examples. We can do a part 2 of this video or whatever else, or if you're stuck more, I'd be happy to do that as well. But we're going to do, we're going to kind of move a few steps forward, and let's do a 4-digit number. So let's do 2,837 plus, let's do a 3-digit number. So how about 895? How about that? Sounds great, grand, and glorious. All right, so we're going to walk through it the same way. I probably didn't give myself enough space here at the top to make this really neat. So let me move this problem down on my page as well. This is really important for keeping things neat. You got to give yourself, you got to plan enough space. Now, luckily, I can just stick it on and then move it, but you have to think a little bit more. And when I do it on actual paper, I have to think a little bit more, or just get a really good eraser, one of the two, right? So 7 plus 5 is 12, right? 1 and then 2. You notice I'm changing back and forth where between my primary and my secondary color. If you're one of my students, I expect you to do the same thing. That's one of the reasons why we use that secondary color, is because it makes you slow down and think about what you're doing. It makes you take your pencil and put it down and then use your colored pencil and write that thing and put it. You can also keep one in one hand and one in the other. That's what I do sometimes or sometimes I'll even keep both in the same hand and whatever else. Now, so you can do that, but it makes you slow down. It also adds to that neatness, right? So a lot of kind of fundamental things that's going on here. So on here, we've got 1 plus 3 plus 9. Now that one's a little bit crazy. So I'm going to add a little area. I'm even going to put a line down it to denote this is scratch paper. So this is in the margin or on your second piece of paper. So 1 plus 3 plus 9. That one's kind of big, right? That's kind of got a lot going on. So let's take that in pieces. So scratch paper is your friend. Paper's cheap. Most of it's recycled these days. You're not really killing trees by using paper. That's a lie. Use the paper. 1 plus 3 is 4. And even if you are, it's for a good cause, right? Who needs breathing? It's overrated. Totally kidding, of course. Plus 9. 4 plus 9. Now that one, we've got to jump over that 10. We've got to jump over that 10 place. So we end up with 13, right? Whatever trick you use to get over that hump. So we got 13. So we got to carry the 1. Use our other color here. And then we put, whatever it's 3. Because it's 13. Just a note for those of you who are my students and you're wanting to follow my instructions well. I know this is another color. The only reason I did that, you could just do this, your scratch work in pencil. That's probably a great idea. And I just wanted to make sure you could see that this is kind of my scratch paper area, right? So that's why I did a third color here. So now we have 1 plus 8 plus 8. So that one's also kind of big. We're going to have to jump over that 10 hump again. So I'm going to go ahead and do that on scratch paper. Scratch paper is your friend. So 1 plus 8. I didn't really mean to keep that color, but this is kind of my pencil color anyway. And so I'm going to keep it. It's fine. 1 plus 8. 1 plus 8 is 9. And then 9 plus 8, we got to jump over that 10 again, right? So it's going to end up being 17. The 9 sucks 1 away from the number, or however else you have learned to do those, right? So then we're going to end up with 1 up here in our secondary color, and then 7 down here for 17. And then now we got 1 plus 2. That one we can probably do without scratch paper, or because it's just a couple things added. So we end up with 3,732. So that hopefully dusted off any cobwebs that existed, or possibly taught you something new if you're in a different place or whatever else, of adding multi-digit numbers. In our next video, we're going to do subtraction with the dreaded borrowing, dun, 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 all that kind of stuff. It's going to be great. And then we'll do multiplication, division, and we'll see where we need to go from there. Thank you guys for joining me. If you're one of my students, do your homework, all the things. I look forward to seeing you in class. If you are not one of my students, thanks for joining us. Hopefully this was useful to you. Let us know how we can be helpful to you with your math or your science or just homeschooling in general. Have a great day. Don't forget to drop a like and hit that subscribe button. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.